sleep. And any who woke were just counting sheep. But the end is near, and all we see is our hate is a disgrace. We don't have time to waste. If we don't learn to love again, it's all over for us.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you all doing? Sorry if you wanted to watch this on LinkedIn, you won't be able to. There's a mess up this morning. My bad. I selected PM instead of AM. We fixed them all up last minute, so thank you all. I can see we're on Rumble, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and we're on Twitter, so we're in good shape. How are you doing? Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. We're almost done this week. Hey, good morning, True North. Nice to see you, buddy. Hey, I wonder if my coffee's ready this morning. Maybe not yet. No clay yet. But yeah, how you guys doing? Okay, so Twitter's been really active. This Coutts stuff is getting some attention, and I'm really happy that you guys are sharing this, especially on Facebook. I can see on Facebook there's a lot more attraction and attention, so thank you very much. I'd like your help, man, says True North. Been trespassed from all public property in Pickering. Really? Okay, so True, you got my email. Send me the paperwork you got, and I will take it from there, buddy. Not sure what you're accused of and what's going on there, but let's go ahead and take a look at that. But send me that paperwork, please. Yeah, we're getting lots of attention, especially on Facebook. The Alberta Political Prisoners Facebook group is really strong. Sorry, I don't have my banner and I don't have my picture. Let me just get those set up here. There we go. Yeah, so we'll be getting those going in the morning for you, the banner and the picture. It's been going really good, especially the Alberta Political Prisoners Facebook page. So go there, the group, go there and make sure you join that. You'll be finding links there and a bunch of stuff there. And Granny's been doing a good job putting content up there. And also her YouTube page. I went and looked at her YouTube page and she's done great videos there about the men, a bunch of pictures and a bunch of stuff. So if you don't know much about this, go check out Granny's YouTube page and the Facebook page, Alberta Political Prisoners, and you'll get a lot more information and you'll get to see the men because they're good men. We're going over some videos today, so I'm going to bring Donald in, and Granny's here too, and we'll get started. Good morning, Donald. Good morning, Granny.
Good morning. Good morning, Granny.
How are you guys today?
Got mine.
You got your coffee? All right, I got my
mine.
coffee. Oh, look at that. All three ready to go.
That's right. Except Granny's got bourbon in there. She just doesn't tell us.
I'm Scottish. It might be.
What is your coffee or tea? Do you have a coffee or tea? What's it?
Me? Coffee. Everybody knows I'm a coffee drinker because I talk about, I'm from a farm in Saskatchewan originally, and my mom always had a pot of coffee on. Everybody was welcome to the kitchen table, and we drink coffee and solve problems. And we're not short of any problems out there right now. So if you can drink a cup of coffee with a friend and solve a problem, perfect.
Excellent. And how do you take your coffee?
Just with cream because I'm sweet enough, so I don't need any sugar.
You certainly are.
I saw that coming.
Yeah. Well, what does that say for me? Because I'm just black, no cream, no sugar. I'm just straight up regular.
You're stronger than me, then.
There we go. Nice and bold in the morning is what you say.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what we did is you passed us a bunch of links to videos yesterday, and we pulled them up and started to watch them. And wow, you got some good stuff there. And I know Donald was really impressed with Rick Abbott, and I'll let him tell you his story about Rick. It's a small world. I'll let you know that. But yeah, maybe we'll just start with that, Donald, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, Rick Abbott, as people might or might not know, was an Edmonton staff sergeant. And just before the Emergency Act was declared, he was down at, I think, Coutts and the other place north of it, or west of it. Milk River, that's it. And he basically, we will hear it today, what he said. And he basically told people he thought they were all fine Canadians and stay safe. And I think, like, no violence and everybody's peaceful and wonderful. He was off duty. And that ended up leading to his resignation. So we'll hear that from his testimony. And he called me up in October, and we chatted a bit. We chatted about the Detective Gruce case that I'm following in Ottawa, and that's the Ottawa police detective who is charged for asking questions about a potential connection between the COVID vaccine and the deaths of 9 infants, sudden infant deaths. And the system cannot have that. We have interference even from Health Canada in that case. And that's really, really something. You know, anybody who doesn't, and you'll hear this from Rick Abbott today, anybody who didn't toe the line, didn't get the jab, had questions, the system came down on them like a ton of bricks. And that was true in Ottawa, it was true in Toronto, Windsor. How dare that officer send $50 to buy food and sandwiches for the truckers, and so on and so forth. So the system just comes right down, and I'm very excited. I actually didn't hear Rick's testimony at the National Citizens Inquiry at the time, and I went over it last night, and fabulous, just fantastic. Great testimony. Stunning,
Yeah, so
actually.
what we may do at some point in the very near future is play the entire thing, and we'll just sit down and talk about that. We won't be able to do that today because it's over an hour, but I think as a special, we should sit down and go through this Rick Abbott video.
I think so.
Yeah. Do you want me to start pointing to some parts, or do you want to take a screen share and we can start looking at the particular portion?
Tell a little bit about the video, just to kind of give a little bit of so
for this.
When Rick was in Milk River, you couldn't just drive down the highway, or it wasn't easy to get from Milk River to Coutts. So you had to take a back road. And one of the guys that has been sitting in a remand jail for 507 odd days, I think it is, showed him the way down there. He actually drove him down, and there was pictures taken. There was others in the room. And so when he said he scanned the room and he saw no ill intention, he saw no nefarious action, he was actually talking with some of the guys because they were there. And one of them specifically took him down to Coutts, showed him the way.
Very dangerous people doing that, right? Bringing a police officer down to Coutts and helping him around. Thank you for that context. Is there anything about, we'll get to, what was her name again? The other police officer one, the female one. What's her name?
I can't remember.
I know I'm looking right at her, but her name's not here. Donald, do you have her name?
I can't remember. Sorry, we did speak about her.
Yeah. Look at us. Okay, so I'm going to get her name.
I know. Yeah.
Here we go. Roberto Mackay.
Oh, superintendent.
You mean? Look.
I don't forget her name.
I thought you were talking about the other police officer that also got into trouble for coming down to Coutts with Rick Abbott. Yeah.
No, sorry about that.
Roberta, good old Roberta. I have here. You know, we probably should start with her, actually, if you don't mind.
Okay. No, I don't.
And Granny sent an excerpt, which is of her, I think, well, if we were kind, we'd say she's misinformed or inaccurate. But if we're not kind, we'll say she's lying. So let's look into that first.
Sure.
I think
I got to get that link.
Granny can probably lead us through that.
Do you have that link in front of you, Don? You can put it in the private chat. I have the full video here, not the excerpt, but I'm happy to put the excerpt.
Okay, Stan.
That's what I always say about her. I say she may not have knowingly lied, but the lie came out of her mouth. It was her responsibility to share the truth in her press release. So what she did, those words were so strong and so powerful, it made them sound like they were off in the corner, ready to come out. she really used her words to scare the public of these people. And so to me, the lie came out of her mouth. She should be the one with the retraction, but nothing.
Gotcha. No, of course not, because they'd have to tear down their entire narrative now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got her. And it's a 30-second clip, so we'll play the whole thing. And screen, and here we go.
So a search warrant was conducted last night it was at approximately midnight, 12:30, where 3 trailers associated to a group that had arrived separate to the original protesters, but ended up being a part of this whole situation. And this group, we conducted a search warrant into 3 trailers associated to them.
All right, you want to comment on the statement there?
Well, I'm a 61-year-old grandma that wasn't down at Milk River or Coutts, and I found the lie. Like, I found the truth. Tony came down with his friends. He left Claire's home in his gravel truck, which his video is right on Instagram. It's not hard to find. And then I found, I was looking at the pictures. I didn't realize at the time, Chris Carbert's truck and trailer is right there on day 1, right in the middle of the meridian. And then off to the side is Chris Lysick's truck. So all of them were there day 1 separately, like with their own friends. And then they came together, and like everybody does, you parked in the same area. And Jerry, like, again, he was hardly there. He was there a few hours and a few days. And so blatant lie.
Incredible.
Here's the video that proves the lie.
Well, she's 5 a.m. start here, and the little convoy is getting organized. It's going to be a great, marvelous day.
There we go. So he's in his truck.
Day 1. So how did they come in separate to the rest of the demonstration when they were there every day from day 1? Like 3 of them. Jerry's in, like, he's like the anomaly in all of this. He was hardly there. But day 1. So how can she go out and blatantly say that? And her words sounded horrible.
Now, did Rebel do any follow-up with that video? Because that was a press conference. Did Rebel do anything that said, hey, look, we found some other evidence or anything like that? Or did anybody but you?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. I've never seen anything else. Not saying it's not out there. I'm just not aware of it. When I came onto the scene, got to remember, I was running to the fire. Everybody else, and I mean everybody else outside of personal family and friends, ran away. And that's not a lie. Like, there were some people behind the scenes, and this will be another story, but there were people behind the scenes, and they were very connected to the Coutts demonstration, faces to the Coutts demonstration. And they were behind the scenes going, well, you know, they're not necessarily innocent. Trust me, I've had a conversation with some of these people. It was not a pleasant conversation, because I said, you are the people that caused the damage. You are the people that made everybody run away instead of asking and getting the facts. They scared everyone away. It was horrible.
Yeah, we see these, and we call them trolls, but they're real life trolls for you. So were there a lot of people, like, what I'm trying to get at is, could these just be people that are planted or trying to push the narrative?
Oh, no.
And they're just people that just fell for it.
No, these are the faces that were speaking at other press conferences. These were the people that were supposed to be, and like that's another story we will have behind the scenes. But no, these were people that people trusted. Right, and instead of questioning, like, everything's a lie out there, and you don't question it, or at least find out. You just go. And this was months later when I found out they were still doing it.
Okay, so those particular people, I think I know who you're talking about, maybe 1 or 2 people you're referring to there. Do you think they are just propagating the narrative, or do you think they're brainwashed and believe the narrative? That's what I'm trying to get at. Because it seems like there's only 2, maybe 1 or 2 people that keep pushing this false narrative. Are they doing that because they believe it, or do you think they're, employed?
I think they're two-faced. because they're saying one thing over here and they're saying another thing over here. I don't know what their agenda is, but there's an accountability list when this is all said and done, and they're at the top of that accountability list because I don't know the reason for it, but I think there's a nefarious reason for it. And if I'm wrong, I will fully publicly admit it. I don't think I am.
Sure. And I think I agree with you because one of them now followed me. So I'm going to keep my eye on that. And what I'm going to maybe after the truth comes out, after they're released, there's no evidence to keep them around, blah, blah, blah. All that happens. Maybe these guys come around and say, oh, okay, well, I guess I was wrong. But I smell something here. Because they seem to be pushing and talking, like you said, two-faced, both sides. And yeah, that's not normal. That's not a normal Albertan.
No, it's not.
That's something else is going on for sure. Okay, so Donald, do you want to jump into this and we'll keep going with? Okay.
If you go to 7 minutes 25 seconds into the long RCMP clip, do you need
of the officer? Yep.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay.
I'll just get it on my screen, and then you said 7 minutes, and
yeah, don't play it yet. I just want to key that up.
Sure. You said 7 minutes and what again?
25 seconds.
7:25.
We'll
It looks like
there.
a very popular area. There we go.
There we go.
Okay, ready when you are.
Okay, well, here's what you're going to hear. Now, I know very little about this, but I believe Granny or Jacqueline said that one of the men was arrested near his home, going to work, going to someone else's farm.
Yes.
Okay. And here is where we're going to listen for about 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. Yeah, about 30 seconds. And you're going to hear her describe the weapons and the terrorists. And well, here she doesn't use that word, but somewhere she did. And then she talks about the man that was arrested on the highway, and he was on the way to Coutts. Now,
No, he's on the way to the job, but yeah, that's what she says.
Right. Now, my question as a police officer, as an investigator, I don't know anything about this. My questions are, and Granny, you don't answer them, but these are my questions. Number one, they had everybody's phones tapped. Do they have a voice recording of him saying, yeah, I'll help you at the farm and then I'm going back down to Coutts? Do they have that? Number two, does he have a suitcase packed to go back to Coutts? Is that with him? And I that's something that I would look for if I was arresting him, if I knew. Or did they just assume he's on the highway, he must be going to Coutts? And you know what they say about assuming makes an ass out of you and me. And so many pieces of evidence can be assumed, and on that day it looks good, and then you get back a few months later, and oh, that wasn't what that piece of evidence meant at all. So that's my question. Was he heading down there or wasn't he? What's the evidence? But let's listen to what this woman says.
The trucks where you found the weapons, were they located on the road in the blockade or elsewhere in Coutts?
So we've had different arrests. The majority of the weapons that we located were in the 3 trailers. And then earlier today, we had an arrest on the highway where two firearms were seized and a person was arrested as well.
So that's the 12th arrest.
But the trucks that you discovered the weapons in, were they in the blockade on the road or were they off the blockade in a field or in a town or village?
No, one of them was on the highway coming here. And due to imminent threat, we located that vehicle and arrested that person. And then we had 3 trailers, and I say trailers as in not a truck or a tractor, but 3 trailers that were here where a stash of weapons was located, including firearms, long barrel weapons, and you have the list.
In town, or on the highway?
In town here, associated down the road here.
Is the conspiracy to commit murder charges that in the incident in the trailers and that vehicle with all the
That's
weapons
correct.
that you seized? Okay, and can you tell me what the status of those people who are charged? Are they in custody?
Okay, that's
What's
good.
going on with them?
Okay.
And later on, I'll take you to another interesting part in this. But okay, so there we have the fact that one of the men was arrested in his truck coming there to commit the conspiracy to murder police officers.
And what's the date of this video? The 14th or 15th?
14th.
Let's 14th.
14th. Yeah, it's 14th.
So
one quick question. Do you know if Jerry's two guns are in that photo then? Because that photo and him getting his two guns, according to this, is all happening at the same time. So
I'll have to ask. I know hers is not the one, but I don't know about. I'll ask that question. I'm not sure. I can't.
Yeah, because it seems like either they were super fast at transporting his guns for that photo. Maybe they're not in that photo or whatnot, but it looks like he was picked up with two. And I don't think there's a dispute about that because he had hunting rifles and stuff with him. But were they a part of that picture? Because I've received a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Jerry's truck had never been to Milk River or Coutts ever. It was Jacqueline's car. It was never his truck. So that needs to be out there too. His truck never made it down that highway ever.
Okay, so they were following him. So they weren't like saying, hey, look out for this plate of this truck because we know it was here. Like a be on the lookout type of call. So they must have been on him as a person and then maybe even following him, which means what's the intimate threat? You already know where he is, what he's doing. I also want to highlight something. So Zach was on yesterday. And what Zach is doing now is he's spending the next week digging even deeper. There's some people that sent us tips and stuff about the gun specifically. So he's going to go through all of that information. He'll be back on Tuesday with an update on what he's found over the next week. So it's amazing. Since that video went up, we're getting people sending us stuff that's eye-opening. And he's looking at it right now too. And yeah, so if you can find out if two of those guns were Jerry's, and if so, which ones, and then we can kind of eliminate them from that batch. Okay, Donald, you want to continue?
Yeah, there's another thing that we haven't spoken about here at all, and it's worth a mention, and you're probably better at the current legal situation than I am, but that's that everybody keeps using the word trailer. It's
an Alberta thing. Just say
travel trailer is what they mean.
No, it's an Alberta thing.
Okay, but a camping trailer, let's call it that, so everybody knows what it is. I think,
but that's why I got to correct you. That's not correct. It's not a camping trailer. It's an Alberta thing. So their homes are called trailers. So they're mobile. They can physically be moved, but not easily. They don't have wheels. So the homes around here, they're called mobile trailers, and they're moved around and put onto pillars and stuff like that. And they call that a trailer.
Okay, great. I want to know the three trailers that as I took it were together. I saw the photograph there.
Right. So there was one house. You can basically refer to it as a trailer house, and then two actual trailers that you're used to, which would be like RVs or fifth wheel trailers.
Right. Now, the point I want to mention here is a legal point, and that's this. That when these trailers are parked and they're not going anywhere, and people are sleeping in them and having breakfast in them, and they have their clothes in them, and they have a shower, and they have a toilet, they become dwelling houses for the purpose of law.
For search and seizure, yeah.
That means an awful lot of differences go into play. And, a boat can be a dwelling house too, in Ontario at least. If you're driving around in your speedboat, you got a can of beer, you're going to be arrested. They're going to take your boat. That's what's going to happen. But if it has a toilet and a bed, and you drop the anchor, and you have the actual intent to stay there, you're not just partying for the afternoon. You are going to sleep there that evening. That boat becomes a dwelling house, and you can sit up on deck and crack a beer and break no law. So my point is, each of these trailers were, I think, dwelling houses under the law at this time, at the whole time the raid occurred and everything. I don't know how that's going to impact anything in court, whether the defense will score some points there or whether some warrants might have been invalid. I have no idea. But I know that when everybody thinks trailer, I'm thinking dwelling house, and the rules are different.
Right. And if this was an event that took place with undercover agents and inside, then the warrant would have been based on that. And look, I think what we're finding out here, Donald, is the I's are not dotted and the T's are not crossed in this. Things were done improper completely. So you might be right. That might be something that the defense can latch on to, whether or not the search and seizure was proper. Yeah, and also the confusion around trailer, because not only does trailer mean something you can live in, it could also mean what's pulled behind a tractor. So there was confusion in this press conference with the reporters asking about trucks, but it was actually not a truck trailer. It was a RV type of trailer, a fifth wheel trailer. And Granny, do we get that right? Because from the picture, you can see that there's a mobile home, but that's not on wheels. And then there's two actual trailers.
Yes, Joanne has a mobile home, a house, and it's permanently fixed there. And then the other two holiday trailers pulled up after a whole bunch of generators went down. And there's this mystery around how all these generators happened to crap out all at the same time. So, and that's how they ended up there.
Okay, cool. And I think we do understand that the guns were in the main mobile house, not necessarily those two trailers.
That is unknown.
Okay, because she keeps saying
unknown question, and it's honestly,
fair enough.
There's no anything to that. That's okay. In the courtroom.
Sure, and all she did say is they were together. So it does sound like from what she said in here, they were in one spot, not necessarily spread out in the three trailers, but in one spot, likely a bag, something along those lines. But we don't know where of those three that would have been in at this stage.
She also talks about an incident where apparently a tractor trailer, or a farm tractor rather, took a run at a couple of police officers.
We heard that in the POEC in detail too.
Okay, all right. So
I can talk on that.
Yeah, what is the situation there? Because don't forget, this was on the 14th, this press conference. It happened very shortly after everything happened. Are the police exaggerating, or was there something happening?
No, so even in the POEC, they explained and described a very slow speed encounter at an intersection. They described a military vehicle, which turned out to be a regular sedan with camo paint on it, like bad camo paint on it, but they called that a military vehicle. And then they also said that the tractor, it's not even, and when they say tractor here, they don't mean necessarily a farm tractor. That's what the front of a tractor trailer is. It's the big truck part. It's called a tractor. But what they described in the POEC was a very slow near hit. Nobody got hit, nobody got touched, and it was at an intersection. What likely happened was the police officers were running the stop sign, and the other guys were trying to get through, and that's likely what happened from the description in the POEC. But no contact was made, but they turned that into what they described as a massive run at the police with this extremely scary vehicle, especially that military vehicle they kept talking about. But then we got to see a picture of it, and it was a sedan with bad camo paint on it. Nobody collided. Nobody got touched. Nobody got hurt. It's just a story, for a hyperbolic story from my perspective.
Speaking of hyperbolic, you remember when the RCMP went in and committed criminal mischief to destroy those pieces of heavy equipment?
Well, Tony has a video on that, by the way. So this is what I didn't know about Tony until I started looking at his Instagram yesterday. Tony actually was involved with those two not vehicles, those were pieces of equipment,
excavators.
Large excavators. Yeah. So he knew about them and where they were moved, and he moved them down further. So I'm curious if this is why Tony's involved in all of this, or he was picked out of the group, because he's actually a witness to a RCMP crime, which is the sabotage and destruction of those excavators. He's very intimately involved in that one.
Well, if you go to, let's see here, at 5:50,
Of the same police officer?
of the same police officer. She starts talking about the trailers and where a reporter's asking where did the trailer come from, et cetera, et cetera. But then after about 10 seconds or 15 seconds, she gets into talking about how the RCMP destroyed the equipment, but
Right.
the words she uses are not those words. Let's listen
Right.
to her.
Well, and I'll cue up Tony's video of this.
Milk River, when did they arrive? And if they were in Coutts, how did they get here? Because there were police checkpoints.
Yeah, I don't know when they arrived. They were here in Coutts.
Can you take me through the volatility that
When they arrived, they were here. How's that happen?
here and how members of the family?
Well, all of us are dedicated to serving the province of Alberta and our citizens. And it's troubling if you have people that are here to cause harm to our own members. And we just want everyone to be safe. And that was our entire effort here. We wanted people to move away from the illegal blockade because of safety issues. And we wanted to have this resolved where people could safely use the highway and the border to get across to do their business and to do their personal work. And that was blockaded. And then to have people coming as well, like with heavy equipment. And you guys have probably heard that 3 large pieces of equipment were, stopped from being able to be used. And that was because our investigation led us that those pieces of equipment were coming here. And we told them not to come here and we asked them to leave. And then the risk is that if we can't have more heavy equipment coming here for a fortification, and they needed to go and they didn't. So part of our situation is protecting the public, but also not allowing it to go beyond that.
The trucks where you found the weapons, were they located on the road in the blockade or elsewhere in Coutts?
So we've had different arrests. The majority of the weapons that we located were in the 3 trailers. And then earlier today, we had an arrest on the highway where two firearms were
We can
seized
stop
and a
it now.
person was
We're
arrested
getting
as
into
well.
the old territory. But I just wanted to point out that, there she admits that they disabled that equipment.
Yeah.
Disabled. They cut fuel lines. They sprayed foam into it. They took out electronics, I think. Now, these are very expensive machines. They're all full of computers. Did they cut hydraulic lines too? I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
I can't log into my Instagram right now. But according to Tony, yes, the hydraulic lines, power or electrical, the sprayed foam you said there, they completely destroyed them.
Okay, I have something else to say that that is to do with something our Minister of Labor, Mr. O'Regan Jr. said. But I'd like to see that video from Tony about the.
I'm trying to log in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason I can't get into my Instagram on this computer because it's his most popular video. There's 3,200 views on it, and he's talking about exactly this. So just keep going, and I'll try and get into that video.
Sure. Okay. Well, we have our esteemed Minister of Labor, and I'm sorry, how is his name pronounced? Seamus O'Regan? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce. Seamus.
Seamus? I don't know.
I don't know. But, in any event, he is our esteemed Minister of Labor under the Trudeau government.
Mm-hmm.
And, we just heard the RCMP superintendent talking about the borders being shut and they wanted to get people moving again. Now, first of all, am I not correct that there were numerous border points? People might have had to drive a half an hour or an hour to get them.
I want to correct that because what she said there was a lie that came out in the POEC.
What's that?
They weren't fully blocked. They were never fully blocked. There was always a lane at Coutts that was open, and there was also another crossing just west of it that stayed open a lot longer than it normally did. There was no blockade at Coutts. There was
that's another lie by the RCMP superintendent talking to the mass media while she's talking about a conspiracy plot to murder police officers. But It's interesting. We have a labor situation going right now. where we have 7,300 workers of the ILWU. Sorry, I don't know. I think that's to do with the borders and such, and shipping. So the point is, the Freedom Convoy was chastised for impeding trade over the Ambassador Bridge and
Correct.
Coutts and places where they didn't, but they were doing that. And yet we now have the labor minister supporting these 7,300 workers going on strike, which will shut down trade and shut
Right.
down shipping and such. What hypocrisy. What
Yep.
total hypocrisy.
Yeah, no, even the federal union that was on strike not too long ago. If you remember that, even CA or CRA was on strike. Remember all that? The federal employees?
Yep.
Yeah, they blocked the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
nobody did anything
hypocrisy.
about that. Yeah.
That's
So-
right. So once again, this is all political. There's no rule of law. These people, I mean, you'll hear when we get to Rick Abbott about how the same police who cleared people out for meeting and everything took a knee with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
During illegal marches all across Canada. He even had the chief of police in Toronto doing it. Give me a break.
Yeah. So what we might end up doing is we're running out of time. So Rick Abbott could be
Okay.
all day tomorrow. So we can make it a focus on Rick Abbott's video. And then
Fair.
we'll finish up with this stuff here. So here's Tony, who's a witness to this excavator, what set it up to it, why they moved it, why they pushed it like a mile away, and then how the police told him they did it, and then the actual damage. He explains it all right here.
Good morning, guys. Just an update here Sunday morning. We just confirmed we had two 20-ton tracked excavators brought out here, and they were unloaded
Just want to remind everybody, within 24 hours of this video, he's in custody.
a mile or so up the road on the same road that all our supplies come in, and they were unloaded off the side of the road. And the cops had a bird about that, and they were like, "What the hell are you doing with these big excavators?" And it's like, "Well, they're two excavators we unloaded in private property, and we got permission to unload them here. So go fuck yourself." And so
I love him.
They got excited, and they said, "You need to move those machines off the road, like off the ditch, because they were just in the ditch." I mean, and so we walked the two excavators further out into the field, like probably, well, I don't know, a mile, way out into the private landowner's field. And Lord behold, the police sent one of the main guys here a text and said, "Yep, your machines are inoperable." So they admitted to vandalizing them, and we couldn't believe that. So we went out there and looked at it. I didn't personally go, but the guy that actually owns the machines went and verified. They literally cut every electrical wire on every solenoid. They severed hydraulic lines. They removed the filters. They spilled fuel all over the place, and then they filled the compartments up with spray foam where all the filter housings are. So those machines are literally destroyed, like completely fucking vandalized. That's the level these pieces of shit are taking it. It's sad to see that they would stoop to that low of going on private property and vandalizing private property. Like, and even if they didn't do it personally themselves, they tipped Antifa off or some asshole like that, because who the fuck else would have known that those machines belong to us? And it's just so coincidence, like a few hours later, that the machines are destroyed and vandalized. So anyways, that's kind of where they're going with this. I mean, what's next, right?
He finds out what's next very quick, doesn't he? Because they arrest him within 24 hours of that video. And Granny, that video might be why he was targeted to be on the silence this guy list, because boy, was he getting real information out. And that was a big problem.
See, and I question things a little bit differently. So we've got February 12th. You start looking at timelines, and the excavators just happened to show up on February 12th to maybe rile people up. Like, you can look at it a little bit different. Now, why and how did these get to that spot? Why and how were they unloaded? Why and how were they not loaded back up? I don't know. I question them being there in the first place. So, and we'll talk behind scenes a little bit more about that.
Sure,
I have
sure.
questions.
So you think, without getting too much detail, you think that that might be a red herring, like something that was put out there to increase the problem, and then when they got attacked or disabled, that increased the problem even more. So we were thinking maybe this is to instigate both sides in some capacity, maybe. Or maybe it's just innocently people bringing in a lot of scary equipment down. In either case, what we do know is there is a video from Rebel about this equipment, and we got to see the damage to it. And during that video from Rebel, I guess it's the owner of the equipment that's in there, they're on the phone with the police officers, the RCMP, where they say, yeah, we disabled that stuff. So it's not Antifa, but it certainly was the RCMP who claimed to have disabled it for their purpose. But what I liked about that video is it's Tony, before he's picked up, just being raw, being open, explaining what's going on. And I certainly didn't see, any of the other guys involved in this video. He didn't even talk about these guys, these other three he's arrested with. And I didn't see anything in there that indicated that they were getting ready for a militia attack of some sort. It looked like he's just talking about equipment. He's pretty upset that some of the equipment got damaged for whatever reason it's there. But that's what I was getting out of that. I didn't see a militia member getting ready to go to war. I saw some dude on the highway talking about some of the equipment that they're dealing with and some of the problems they're dealing with. And then he foreshadowed a bit by saying, I wonder what they're going to do next. Tony, you find out what they're going to do next. Don, you want to go next?
Well, okay, I'll be devil's advocate again.
Sure.
Now, we know that they're trying to make a conspiracy. We talked about conspiracies yesterday. There's a standard joke in the police: if you can't get them for anything, charge conspiracy. It's a joke. How's that investigation going? I think we're going to have to charge them with conspiracy, and everybody laughs because it's the charge you lay when you haven't got substantive crimes being perpetrated by all the people you're looking at. Now,
it's
don't
like
get me wrong.
mischief. It's like mischief. That's a charge if they don't have anything else.
Sure. Yes, it can be. But okay. Look, I'm a former police officer, former investigator, detective. I've arrested lots of people for lots of things. And what I'm thinking about here is, how do they make the conspiracy? Now, I'm talking about these four men.
Mm-hmm.
If they have a couple of phone calls and somebody says, I'm going to do this, and it's taken out of context, or maybe it's not, we don't know. But how does that involve the other two or the other three? This conspiracy might be very tenuous. I mean, it might be very delicate. There's not a lot of evidence to prove the conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're holding them in prison, though. And if you think like normal citizens, you think, well, they must have done something. It must have been pretty serious, until you realize, once again, we let people out on bail for horrific crimes, murdering a police officer they're accused of, and all sorts of things. So, yes, I believe they're being held for political reasons. It's a political decision. But some of this evidence, even from my standpoint, from right now, I mean, I'm thinking the guns. And Granny, don't answer. But the guns. Why do you bring, if you don't live in Coutts, and maybe these trailers are not your primary residence, or it could be, I don't know. Why do you bring that many guns, that much ammunition? Or was it all seized there? I don't know. Once again, there's so much we don't know. But I think part of the evidence could be, or would be, if I were making this case on the other side, if I were the prosecutor, I would say, are these trailers the normal residents of the people who were in it? And if they are, okay, they keep their guns in the trailer. But if they're
Actually,
not, you understand where I'm going with this?
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a good question. I'm not sure whose home it was. And I also want to highlight something. The media ban, as Granny let us know, is from the defense. So the defense asked for that because, of course, you already see the narrative coming together very quickly. That's not even true. So the last thing you want is the media to continue to propagate that into the heads of the jury, which will be in Alberta. So that was a defense move and a good one, because immediately within the first 10 minutes, you find out, oh my gosh, they're lying. So the last thing you want is for them to keep lying in the media.
Exactly. And we saw the superintendent, I think we got her in 3 lies in 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And
The Pinocchio nose there.
right. But now that I look at all what she said in context, I don't know. I think she had to have known that she was telling a whopper and doing some theater. I really do. It looked like
Yeah, for sure.
theater.
Now
Yeah.
you had Rick Abbott contact you. Do you still have his contact? Can we get him on?
I'll call him up. I'll call him
Yeah,
up
he'd be
and
welcome to
see.
come tomorrow. Who better to take us through the Rick Abbott video than Rick Abbott? So if we can get him on, maybe tomorrow. Granny, would you like to have him on here? Maybe you can chat with him directly.
That would be wonderful because his video has been sent to all the lawyers.
Excellent.
I can
So
tell
yeah,
you this, he's just from talking with him, he is, I have great admiration for him. He has integrity and he had the courage to do what was right. And what a guy. We need thousands of him in uniform.
Yeah.
We really do.
Please reach out to him. He could be quite the voice for us on this as well. Even the testimony there was around the COVID stuff, and that was the lawyer Sean. I can't remember his name, but Sean, we're trying to get him as well. So the lawyer asking the questions of Rick Abbott, we're trying to get him on the show, and maybe this one. I don't know if it would be this one or an interview later, but if you can reach out to Rick, please invite him.
I will.
Excellent. Now, is there any more videos in many more clips of this Pinocchio lady that we want to watch?
Let me just look at my notes here.
Yeah, because there's one around the organizers that seem to be pretty popular at the 10-minute, 20-second mark. While you're doing that, maybe we'll just throw it on.
Sure.
Okay, let me do that. Because this is an interesting video. So if you haven't seen it, folks, Paula will share this in the chat. And Paula, that's the Donald Best 6:11 a.m. link. So share that. And put this in. There we go. So this is about the organizers.
The truth is that this absolutely took place. And I'm not going to argue with somebody who isn't going to listen to the facts. I have no intention of doing that. There are people with all sorts of opinions. But the truth is that there's a heavy stash of weapons, and these weapons were brought by people who had the intent on causing harm. And there are also people here who are here to protest, and they very likely didn't know what was going on here. But that is not up to me to decide as to what level things are at. And you can imagine our situation, and some people have asked for pictures, and I'm sure they will come. But people have to accept the truth and understand our situation is to protect the public. And in order to do that, we act on facts.
Okay, so I really dislike when people say things like that they have to accept the truth. This is fact. So they're just stating it with no evidence and trying to get it right into your head at the very beginning. Even disagreeing with her at this point makes you not worth arguing with, as she says, or even talking to. So this is not somebody who's interested in facts and providing it to you. This is somebody who's completely interested in controlling that narrative 100%. And you can see how she's already vilifying anybody that questions it. That's incredible to see this in a press conference so early.
Well, if you go to 1136, And then shortly after that, 20 seconds after that, a question is asked where the RCMP is referred to, I guess, these four accused as organized crime.
Oh wow.
Organized crime. Yeah. That probably I'd like to hear that again. Maybe start at 11:36. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So for clarity, the investigation into the charge of conspiracy to attempt murder, that the intended target was an RCMP officer.
Yeah, I don't know the fine details of the investigation. I just know that a threat was against our members in general, and that as you saw in the brief, that we had to act on that information.
In your release, you refer to it as organized crime. What do you mean by that? What sort of organization are we talking about?
I think that the investigation will reveal the in-depthness of that. I don't know the exact characterization that it would be to lead this, but there's certainly a group that came in after the initial group arrived within days, and then this action began. And it came to a point where for the safety of the members and for the safety of the public, we certainly had to act and act quickly.
She is baloney. She a complete liar. I could rip her apart on the stand with what she just said there. She couldn't identify an individual. Then she changed it to the entire group of the RCMP. And then when probed on what organization they're part of, she just gave a broad generalization and doesn't even know. And she's a spokesperson, is she not? She's the one that's supposed to have the details that could come to the press.
And she's of high rank. She's a superintendent. And
yeah, this is a made-up story. That's why there are no details.
At 13:18, she finally admits, I don't know, it'll all come out in court, I'm sure. Just believe me now. Yeah, okay.
13.
Others in the protest knowing about them?
I don't know. That's going to come out through evidence at court, I'm sure.
Cute. And that's the punt it down the road. I don't actually know. We'll let the lawyers and the judge deal with this. The penalty is the process. This is what you just said there. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And here she is, and you don't have to put this up, but I'm just reading from the transcript. And she's talking about opening the border and ensuring that it remains open and such. But from what I've heard from Granny and you, the border never did close. Is that
correct?
True?
Yeah. You see, the border services.
It's a lie. Then it's a lie. My goodness. Yeah.
No, they talked in depth about how when the initial border was blocked, a lot of the truckers down road reorganized themselves and they went to different crossings. Alberta has more than one crossing, and then they actually opened up another crossing and gave it after hours access. And they also talked about at the POEC that during all of it, there was a side road open that was available. And if anybody had livestock or time-sensitive loads, they were getting through. And I also believe there was an ambulance or something at one point that did cross. So it was all baloney. It was baloney. There was passage, especially for items that needed to get through. They were getting through. And Granny, you wanted to say something there? It looked like you were about to talk.
No, I was just saying they did lead the public to believe, because the public have talked about there were animals dying in the trucks, and they how cruel could they be? So those stories, they go like wildfire. Oh my gosh, those poor animals. No, the animals were getting through, and if something happened, there's probably an explanation, but we never get that far.
Yeah, no, we had testimony straight up that said animals and feed was getting through. Essential supplies were getting through. I even think the mayor of Coutts testified to that. But I know that I think even the RCMP testified to that, because it came out. I'm like, okay, well, then what's the beef here? And this was on the 13th and the 12th and 13th and 14th. It was open. And Donald?
Yeah, so many lies. And like I said, when there's a lie on day one, how many more lies? And then she talks about getting to court. Well, as we've seen, try and get to a courtroom.
Absolutely. You're not wrong there, Granny. And Donald, you want to wrap up? We're getting close to the 1 hour mark here.
Well, we're going to attribute some of what that superintendent said to confusion, the fact she was just a spokesperson thrown in, And some of the unprofessional evidence handling that we've seen with the guns, we also heard, I think from Jacqueline, that the police officers came from all over the province and maybe even other provinces. Nobody had worked together, and sometimes you don't send your best guy, you know. If you're a detachment commander, you know, and they need 3 guys, yeah, you know who you're going to send, and it's not our finest, okay? So these things happen, and that's my perspective on it. Once again, we'll see what happens in court, but I've seen a lot that causes me much doubt about the quality of this investigation and arrest.
I agree with that. And then, Granny, you want to maybe say goodbye, and then we'll wrap this up.
So I'm always about the men. Like, I'm always out there speaking up for the men. When I see that video of Tony, Jason, when you see him, he's lost a lot of weight. These men have not seen even a blade of grass in 17 months. They've seen concrete. Their vitamin D levels have got to be in the toilet. His eyes are sunken. He's struggling with gut health. So when everybody sees that video, that's not our Tony anymore. No, our Tony has been in a remand jail for 507 days, and he's struggling health-wise. He seems to be strong mentally, but even that has to have its toll. But that's not, Jason, you'll see that on the 25th. It's not our Tony anymore. But we're going to keep speaking up, and we're going to keep going forward, and we're going to get through this.
Yeah, I like him. I like him from his Instagram. I like that guy. He's got the personality I like a lot. And what I didn't find on his Instagram is any video with him of anybody else in this matter. Not a single one of the men I didn't see any there. So if it's there, point me to it. But I didn't see him collaborating, hanging out, sharing conversation with, or even walking down the highway with any of these guys. And then, So tomorrow, Donald, if you can try and get Rick Abbott here, that'd be great. And if he can't come tomorrow, maybe try and get him another day, Monday through Thursday, and then we'll get him on. But yeah, we'll tackle his video tomorrow. Okay. You want to say good day? You want to say good morning or goodbye?
Good morning or goodbye.
Thank you, Donald. Okay,
best I
folks,
can do.
That's great. That's great. Donald, you are the best. That's why you got that name. So thank you both very much. We're going to wrap up. And if you don't mind, both of you stick around. We'll have a little chat after this because we're here, and let's just take advantage of that. But let's go ahead and wrap up, and I'll be right back with you both. So, folks, that's another day. Now we're going over this RCMP officer. Boy, does she have a big Pinocchio nose. She is lying. She is lying. At first, at the beginning of the video, she comes out with confidence saying, I know the facts. Don't even argue with me. I got the facts. Just take the facts. Then halfway through the video, she starts skewing the facts. So you can't even get details anymore. And then by the end, she's saying, I don't know. Let's take this up in court. Does that sound like somebody who's got the story and the narrative all in line? Does that sound like the accusations and the charges were worked and investigated? And does that sound like she even knows what the heck is going on? To me, it sounds like somebody who's trying to control that press conference and control that information, not necessarily give you the proper information. So from my perspective, she started off strong, she got very weak, and then she fell apart at the end. Because if you say, look, I don't have the details, I don't know anymore, you'll find out in court, you are full of it. And that's my take on that. Mr. Abbott, if you're out there, Rick, buddy, if you're hearing this, or if anybody knows him, Donald knows him, we're going to do our best, but go ahead and reach out to us, reach out to Donald. You have his contact. We'd like to get you on. Your video is very compelling, and it's very surprising that it's not everywhere. You're full of truth, and yet you're being hidden. So Rick, if you're out there, let's go ahead and try and chat. And on that note, folks, you know how I feel about you. I love you all very much. Thank you for coming together. The support for Granny and for the men is amazing. And let's keep that going and growing. Love you all. God bless.